Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Your feet just keep going up higher, and it just keeps feeling better, man. Those dogs have been tired. You got to let them breathe.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's good you're here to do this in your own style, shall I call it.
Reading words off of a paper. Yes! We have one segment to talk college football, PK. Anything you would like to share, unless it's about the Rams and Niners tonight, and I don't believe you really have much to offer on the Rams to Niners tonight. The Niners are missing their starting quarterback, Brock Purdy, and 2 wide receivers are out, and they look very shorthanded, so that doesn't look like much of a game.
Yeah, the Niners are the new Utes. Seem to always have injuries get in the way of what they're trying to accomplish as far as that goes. I mean, this is a boring week relative to the local teams, with 2 teams being on the bye, and then BYU, it so happens that they're playing West Virginia.
Which feels like a bye, even if it's a game.
And West Virginia's in a rebuild and has to come all the way out here to play a game on a short week for them.
Could be down 3 quarterbacks, no less.
Right, and then they've got they're not very good to begin with, and then they've got the injuries at the quarterback spot, which sucks, but I mean, that's the situation that you come up with. And so for BYU, I think it's important to put it on them and do like they did, who was at Portland State, and get – because you never know, man. You just never know. And the season goes on with these injuries. You don't get an opportunity to, we need an extra week. Okay, take the week off. No, the games come whether your guys are healthy or not, and get some other guys in there, particularly at the quarterback spot, because you just don't know. And it's not necessarily, for a building situation. It is something for this season, because who knows who's going to be here. You never know who's going to be here from one year to the next, and you get surprised with kids coming and going. So you're not looking to get them experience maybe for down the line. You're looking to get them experience for right now, in case you need them, particularly at the quarterback spot. And that's a position that, obviously only playing one dude, that's what you're going to do. But I think what's really cool for BYU is that, just 2 years ago, we wouldn't have looked at this game and thought, oh, wow, this is just a blow-off game. This team is way superior. But in just a couple of years' time, when they've been in the conference, that they're able to be at this point where we expect them to blow out West Virginia. And when they first got in the league, it was scrap and fight for everything. And, they finished 5-7, and then they turned it around last year. And it looks like that this is going to be a continuing situation this year. We'll see what the years to come do. But for now, yeah. And I think that's really cool for BYU that that's where they're at, to think that West Virginia's going to come out here and we're going to smoke them. We're going to get Hillstead, Bourget, whomever into the game and go from there, get Bachmeier out of the game, get Chase Roberts out of the game, and so forth and so on. That's just big time when you think about where they were to where they are in such a short span of time. And even if you go back, DJ, beyond that, I can recall talking to guys who follow the recruiting stuff way closer than I do as the end of independence was wearing on, that this thing was getting away from them and they just weren't getting the guys, and guys were going to Utah or in other places, and it seemed like it was bordering on a not hopeless, but bleak would probably be a better word rather than hopeless, because they could still manage, have enough talent to win a few ball games. But there was really no buzz about the program, right? And then they get the lifeline with the Big 12. The first season, Slovis gets hurt. It gets disappointing. But then they turn it around. And now here we are 2 years later thinking, oh, gosh, man, they've got this game sewed up. So they're gonna move to 5-0. You realize how difficult it is to get to 5-0? And here we are taking it for granted? That's just awesome for the football program to be where it is right now.
I think it was the period you're talking about, and whether it's running in place or treading water, but Kalani years 2, 3, and 4. It wasn't bad. Well, year 2 was bad. But that period was basically 500 football. Probably a little under. If you add it all up, they would have been like 3 games under, but I can't do that much math on the air. 18-21, I think, over a 3-year period. And so there was no spark. There was no – now – the recruiting started getting better. The Big 12 shows up. The transfer rule, the NIL, well, everything's changed. Stuff you couldn't have predicted in 2017. Some of it hoped for. The Big 12 one day. But even that hope had already been offered and then dashed. Well, couldn't find a 12th team, so I'm not doing anything.
Yeah,
but I guess it's just the lesson there is don't get too far down because college sports changes and reinvents itself. And we already expect change in the 2030s, and maybe it breaks for you and maybe it breaks against you, regardless of which school we're talking about, any of our local schools. But who's to say something isn't going to change in the 2040s? That run they stayed in the WAC for 35 years, roughly. That was a fair amount of consistency, and they did lose Arizona State out of the WAC in there, and they brought in San Diego, Fresno, and Air Force and Hawaii, right? But that was pretty stable. But other than that, it seems like every decade. I mean, the 2000s with the Mountain West were different. The 2010s with the Pac-12 and Independence were different. The 2020s with the Big 12 are different. The 2030s, we're expecting different, and don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I think it's going to be different.
Yeah, but different doesn't necessarily mean good for you.
The fact. 100%.
Maybe
but even if
somebody else,
even if it goes bad for you in that decade, there's no telling if it'll go better in the next decade.
Okay, right. But you're right. There is no telling.
Yeah.
You take nothing for granted. The only thing that matters right now is that the Cougars got that lifeline with the Big 12, and I think it's hard to quantify. Is it more important to have the money? Well, I would say that, sure, you got to have the money. That's a fact. But I think that the bigger thing is the Big 12. And then I think they catch a break with the demise of the Pac-12, bringing in some regional teams.
Yep.
So it's not we're this lone wolf way
out
out
on the
here.
west side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you got that there, and we saw it. I was there at Tempe last year. That thing, I'd say minimally was, in my estimation, 20% full of Cougars. It was sold out, so you got 100%. All the seats were taken care of. But I would think in that with 20%. I don't know that they're going to get to that level if the game is against Baylor, say, late in the season, right? And it's down in Waco. You're always going to get some church members and some Cougar fans that are from here or alumni combined with the church members to where they're going to get a decent-sized representation no matter where they go. I've seen it. I've seen it in Georgia, about as far as you can go. I saw it in Florida, which is about as far as you can go because I've traveled with BYU a lot over the years. So we know that. But down there in Tempe, there was a significant amount of folks there. And so that leads it to more interest. So they get that because say they got the money. They probably, if they stayed in the West Coast and Independent with the new rules with the money, they could probably still have the money, but I don't think that – does DeBonsa come and play in the West Coast Conference? No. He just doesn't, right? And some of these other kids, does Bachmeier come and play if they're independent? I have no idea, but I can make an argument no, right? So the money's great, and you need it, but they needed that affiliation too, and they got it. And so then they were presented with that opportunity, and now they've taken advantage of it where we had doubts, because they went 5-7 in the first year. And the recruiting had not been, if you look at the numbers, and I know we make fun of recruiting. I'm always in a quandary with recruiting. I try not to make a big deal of it, but yet it is a big deal, and yet these star things we see, this kid's got 4 stars, and the other kid's got 2 stars, and when it's done, the 2-star kid was way better. So I say, see, that recruiting, it doesn't really matter. And you talk to any recruiting coordinator, which we all have, and they'll say, yeah, we don't look at those stars. We look at what we evaluate. But yet, you need that. And so I've always go back and forth on the recruiting. I can't really put my handle on it to say it's not that important or it's the most important thing. It's somewhere, it is important, but it's important that you get it right. I think that's where I end up, not stars. If they have the stars, great. I think it's most important that the individual programs get it right with recruiting. And here BYU has been getting it right. What did you say, Yak? Was it that Evan Johnson coming out of Monterey didn't have any offers? Is that what it was? BYU was his only offer?
BYU is his only Power 4 offer.
Power 4 offer.
Yeah.
Oh, that kid's turned into a pretty good player. Right? And so it was his only Power 4 offer. He takes it, and, yeah, he's been very good to where we saw on video that the Colorado fans are bleep you Johnson. Well, if he's not that good, they ain't saying that, right? But they saw the week before he comes up with some big-time plays to help BYU get some breathing room and win the game going away, right? So recruiting does matter, and they've been able to advance their recruiting. And the money's a factor, but I think that Big 12 thing was the lifeline that they needed, and they got it. And now, gosh, we're expecting there's still work to be done, a ton of work to be done, actually. But if they only go 8-4 this year, we could say, wow, I'm a little bit disappointed with that. With a freshman quarterback, we still would say, I'm a little disappointed by that season. At least I would right now. That may change in a few weeks. But right now, if they only go 8-4, when I use the word only, come on, with a freshman quarterback who wasn't in the program until May, that's where we are with the Cougars. That's pretty impressive to say, hey, I'm disappointed with a freshman quarterback and we went 8-4.
If that's the storyline, that would be an impressive story to tell. I do think your point about recruiting, I would say recruiting is very important. What isn't as important is any one player. And one player's celebrity sells and star power sells, and you get all caught up in one player. Well, the one player doesn't matter that much. Recruiting as a whole matters a lot. You got to recruit a lot of good players. But some of those guys are going to switch positions. You're going to follow it up by the transfer portal. There will always be kids who are overlooked. I mean, the only reason Jay Hill could bring all these kids out of Weber State to transfer, I mean, Eddie Heckard came in and played right away in the defensive backfield. Obviously, Kelly has come in as a linebacker and had massive impact. I mean, these guys are overlooked. They are. But we can look at NFL guys who are overlooked. So any one kid, you can't get caught up about the stars and whether he's great or whether he's not. But, man, as I think it was Gary Anderson was saying, yeah, you hit on 30% of your recruits, you're going to be unemployed. you got to hit on 2 out of 3.
If you hit on 2 out of 3 quarterbacks, you might be unemployed. Well,
as the ripcord gets pulled faster and faster, and we're seeing it at Oklahoma State and UCLA already this year, there's some truth to that. Now, you could probably argue that there were other major contributing factors, and you can get to those guys getting fired.
Yeah, for sure. But man, I would argue that Bachmeier is the most important addition they've had in their program in a good long while.
I mean, it's different now in that you can add a transfer, every year. But man, how many years do you get to miss? 2 or 3? In most schools, I don't know many schools are going to let you miss 4 times. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah,
I mean, Kyle was on the hot seat after 2, 5, and 7, so a bad year 3. So he had 3 years, right? Kalani was on the hot seat after going into a second bad year. Well, he had 1 bad year. If the second year was bad, then that might have been. I mean, we've heard that multiple times from people inside the.
The second year was 7-6. It's not exactly.
No, I was just talking recently when he went 5 and 7, and he made major changes, and he had to get them right. I mean, there are people, and I don't know how it would have played out if it would or wouldn't have happened, but I know people who are getting a paycheck there, and you know them too, who think if he'd had another 5 and 7, jobs could have been lost.
Yeah, because Kalani Sitake has been doubted.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's reasons why he's been doubted. I wrote about that, took all sorts of grief about it because they didn't want to hear it, but they were wrong.
Yeah.
And now he's answered those questions, and now he's below.
I think he would say he's answered those questions, comma, again.
Well,
this is 3 double-digit win seasons for him, and we'll see how this one plays out. Maybe he can get a 4th. I mean, certainly they're 4-0, and we think they're going to be 5-0, so it's certainly on the table.
I think they'd be approximately halfway there.
Yeah, except numbers, PK. Tell the story behind the numbers. You're not a numbers guy. The back half of the schedule is way harder than the front half of the schedel.
It is. But
absolutely. Nonetheless,
there's no question.
Win the games you're supposed to win. That's how you get to 10. You got to win a lot of games.
But the thing about Bachmeier, too, they get him in May.
Yep.
Did they get him without Aaron Roderick being there and having a track record? Did they get him without being in the Big 12? Did they get him without being able to throw some cash? Yeah. They need all of that stuff in order.
Any one of those things might be enough to mess up the deal and end it. It doesn't happen. But you got them all, right? A-Rod can say, hey, this guy played here. He's in the NFL. This guy played here. He's on an NFL roster, right? You got to be able to do that. And you're right.
Yes.
You got to have the money. And also,
they get him in May because that Retzlaff thing goes down way late in the school year.
But if BYU are independent, then they're viewed as a G5 team, and Bachmeier probably wants to be in a power league. So now he's going late, and there aren't a lot of jobs open. Maybe that would have played in their favor. But like you say, better they have everything lined up the way they do.
I think Bachmeier could have gone some other places because it was clear he was willing to sit a year.
Mm-hmm. And that does give you options. And he was younger, so he had that opportunity. It's not, It's not the same deal as Retzlaff, who couldn't sit a year and had to play right away.
Right.
So that limited his options.
And the stature of the program allowed them to get a player of his caliber, which that's what I'm talking about. The stature of the program in just less than a handful of years from where it was to where it is. That's an impressive increase and an impressive amount of growth that you have to just sit back and say, wow, that is really, really good work that they were able to get where they were to where they are. And it's sure being 4-0, 5-0 is great, but just the opportunity to get a kid like Bachmeier, I'm telling you, man, when they got him, they were ecstatic because they knew he had plenty of options, and he chose here, and then he goes out there and does his thing. Yeah, and that's really, really cool to where now we're expecting them to take on a Big 12 opponent who has been in a power conference for several years now. And I realize they're a little bit of a down, and that happens. Things go and it gets away. Oklahoma State's going through that now. We get that. And they just didn't go the normal way in the manner that some of the other schools who made the adjustment, they made that adjustment pretty quick. And that's also a credit to their administration. And they had 2 years to prepare for it, and they knew it was coming, and they knew what the changes that they had to make. That's the one thing I can step back and say about BYU as an athletic program and really BYU as an institution is that somewhere along the line, and I think it was my own opinion mixed in with some conversation and some intel, is the credibility that Tom Holmoe had with his supervisors, that he could go into that and say, hey, listen, man, this is what's going to happen here, and we have got to step up our game in a checklist of ways. If we want the results that we're looking for, that this is what we have to do. And Tom, being in that position, allowed that to happen because he had the credibility to be able to go to his supervisors and who may not have the training athletically, right? I'm sure they're all bright and all that stuff, and they all have to, the Santiagos of the world have to compliment these guys because they're their bosses when they think they know sports. Yeah, great. But you don't know what it takes, really. Tom and Brian did, and they were able to get it done to where they are now. And it looks like, at least for the next X amount of years, that this thing can continue. And I think that's a big-time story right there.
When we come back, the Utah Mammoth coming home for a preseason game. How's the arena changing? Where are you going to get your new gear? Utah Hockey Club. That's all souvenir stuff now. Where do you get the Utah Mammoth stuff? We'll talk with Chris Armstrong about that. Utah Mammoth president of hockey operations joins us next. We'll give away tickets as well. Stay with us.
And now, a look at traffic from the KSL Traffic Center.
The accident in Pleasantview on westbound 2700 North, just east of State Street, has been closed for over 2 hours. Also a crash on northbound I-15 in Midvale before 7200 South. That's been cleared out on the right shoulder. And also traffic is still unusually slow for this time of day in both of those areas. Just be aware of that if you're out and about this morning. This update is brought to you by UTA. It is road therapy. Give your car a break and get more U-Time. Plan your trip today at rideuta.com or on the Transit app. With your KSL traffic update, I'm Jake Hatcher, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's game week for the Cougars, and the KSL Sports Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. The undefeated Cougars return home to Provo for a Friday night showdown against the Mountaineers of West Virginia. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Cougar football. Then catch the post-game show immediately following the game on KSLSports.com, as well as a complete wrap-up the following day on College Football Saturday beginning at 10 a.m. Your home for the best coverage of BYU football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK brought to you in part by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at trajanwealth.com. Time now to welcome in Chris Armstrong, Utah Mammoth, president of hockey operations. Chris, good morning.
DJ, PK, good morning. Great to be with you.
Thanks for coming on with us this morning. A home game.
My pleasure.
A home game. You're done going to Colorado and L.A. and Idaho. That means the hammers and the saws have been put away, the cranes out of the middle of the arena. There's ice again.
The nails are laid, the screws are in. We're ready to roll here at Delta Center. It looks amazing.
Is this going to be sort of like, not completely, but like a trial run with everything being new, and you have some new offerings there for food and some other stuff as far as, hey, let's get this done tonight and then see if we need to make any adjustments?
Absolutely. I think you try to take your home preseason games as a bit of a dress rehearsal, especially for us with the new identity as Utah Mammoth. We'll start to integrate some of those fan experience elements and start to build that identity here inside the arena. Obviously, we'll hold all the bells and whistles for opening night on the 15th against Calgary, but this is a great opportunity to test some of those things out and get fans back in the building and excited about the season.
That building has been around for so long now, 30-plus years, I think 34, and fans have a lot of great memories, right? And not just sports. Not just the Jazz, the Olympics, tons of concerts and shows there. There's all kinds of stuff. I think there's a lot of curiosity of what exactly have they done to the building in the offseason. And I know there's more off-seasons and more changes to come, but what have they done? What's going to look different? What's going to be new? What are fans going to like?
Well, I think you're absolutely right, and many more exciting moments to come, including our exciting season as the Utah Mammoth, and some amazing concerts coming up in the lineup as well. And obviously, the Jazz have a young and exciting, hungry team. So plenty of memories to be made, and of course the Olympics on the horizon as well. So we really focused this summer on the lower bowl. Our president of the Jazz, Jim Olson, has overseen the project and done an unbelievable job alongside JV Galileo on our team. And we focused on creating that traditional lower bowl experience, if you will, or aesthetic, where we've got seats behind the nets. Last year, as you recall, we had backdrops. We've got full seats all the way up to the concourse now. I think it's the steepest pitch in professional sports, certainly in the NHL. Fans are right on top of the action. It's going to be loud and intimidating and everything we love about this building. So I think fans will be excited to see that and see how it looks. And it really is something for the eye to behold. I mean, the steepness and intimacy is incredible.
And now you got a name, and along with that name, it means that there's going to be merchandise available. I assume that will be on full display this evening.
Yes, sir. We're opening the doors shortly to put our home and away jerseys on sale for the first time as Utah Mammoth. And there's great excitement building outside. There's a line already extending around the corner, and this is a special day, an exciting day for our fans to finally get their hands on our jerseys and to fill our arena in our jerseys. And I know our players are excited to see them back in the building tonight.
Either tonight or ultimately maybe, in a few weeks here, how many different pieces of apparel can people get? Because everybody, the jerseys are obviously big. People go for T-shirts, golf shirts, caps. Pete and I were just talking about how we have had either for ourselves or family members have gifted us socks from the bookstore at the universities we went to. There's really no limit to what you can put a logo on. What have you done?
I'm looking at the team store right now. Fanatics, our new partner on the team store, has done an unbelievable job of merchandising the store. A full complement of products. The hat wall is exceptional. One of the best I've seen. Hoodies, hats, T-shirts, you name it. I'm looking at onesies right now. I think fans will be excited. It's an even deeper selection than obviously we had in our inaugural season, and the stuff looks great. Obviously, that blue really pops, and we get very proud when we see that color out in the community.
And you're telling me, Chris, I don't know if our listeners know this, that Christmas is coming up, and so some gift ideas that can be done with early Christmas shopping, right?
Absolutely. These are easy gifts to wrap and to put under the tree. So come one, come all.
Not just gifts, stocking stuffers too. You got to have the little stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. It's America. Commerce makes the world go round, especially in the Christmas season.
We're excited. We're excited to see our fans in these jerseys. They look really, really good. So lots of good energy around the building already today.
I like what Andre Tourney, I like to hear his interviews because he's one of these guys who tends to tell it like it is as he sees it, right? He's not and it's only been a year that we've been around, but he's not a beat around the bush guy. And last year, I think it was labeled with excitement, with hope. And this year it's changed to excitement with confidence. Explain what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you want from your head coach is clear communication and clear expectations, and Bear does a great job of both. And, our ambition is to make that push to be a playoff team this year and for us to take that step, and that's what everybody's focused on. We've had a really good camp, a competitive camp. Guys have worked really, really hard, and the preseason is about getting your reps in and starting to sort of establish the identity for the season. Ultimately, staying healthy and getting ready to roll and get off to a good start in the regular season.
Kyle Whittingham is fond of saying, most people don't care about your problems, and the rest of them are glad you have them, right? So one problem that I see looming out there for you, and it's a good problem to have, you don't dare complain about it. So the summer of 25, you redo the lower bowl. The summer of 26, you got more plans to redo more stuff in the arena. But if a team goes to playoffs, that shortens an already tight construction window by 2 weeks. And once you're in a best of 7, we all know you get a hot goaltender, right? Suddenly, it could shorten it by a month. And you don't dare complain about any of this. I totally understand this, but how do you plan for that? Because that seems like it could be a major problem. You're already shoehorning a pretty extensive construction project into a tight window.
Well, as we like to say, those are high-class problems.
Right.
At the end of the day, we have an unbelievable team. We did just build a 143,000 square foot practice facility in just about 13 months. So I know Jim and Jamie and the team will respond to that challenge. It is a realistic challenge, but if that's the reason we're delayed, then we're happy to accommodate.
And that practice facility you speak there down at Southtown, is that 100% ready to go, or you still have more work?
Our hockey facilities are completed, and then we're still working to finish the public areas of the facility and hope to open that up later this year.
How is that going to work for people who've been going to the mall and all that? What level of interfacing, what is open to the public and interactive, what isn't? Does it depend on the time of day and if the team is training, and is there open ice? How does that all work?
Yeah, so we'll try to make the facility as accessible as possible throughout the day, even when we're in residence for practice, and unless there's something going on with the team that doesn't allow us to do that. We want this to be the home of hockey in Utah, and for the public to be able to interact with our team and our players and our staff at our headquarters. So it's not, obviously it's attached to the mall, but it has its own public entrance and separate from the mall, and that will be open regular business hours every day, and we can't wait to fill the ice times with youth hockey and adult hockey and free skating, learn to play programs when we're not on the ice.
The season starts in 1 week, and we know it's at Colorado, and I think you got 3 games on the road before you come home. You already mentioned it, Calgary on the 15th, so that's just, less than 2 weeks away. And I can recall last year, I don't know that you can recreate the level of anticipation last year because it was the very first game, but the stuff you had was super cool, and you had the thing that I liked, a resident Canadian hockey guy who also played on the PGA Tour, Mike Weir. You had him in a golf swing, and then I think, if I remember, he finishes it with a hockey swing. And so all that stuff was really cool. I imagine you've got stuff that's in the works that you're going to be able to do opening night this year.
Yes, indeed. I can't give it away here. My marketing team will get very upset. They put a lot of time, energy, and effort into planning some really fun things in the arena. As I say, the real focus is to bring this identity as the Utah Mammoth to life. Our fans helped us to pick that identity, and we want to give them the best experience possible here in the arena. So yes, I will say come early, be in your seats when the doors open. There's going to be lots of fun stuff happening inside and outside the arena.
I'm curious what the attitude is with inside the club and also with inside the league. The crowds were tremendous, but I was always surprised when I went to the game. It didn't matter who the opponent was. There were so many visiting fans there. It was unreal. And I grew up in Southern California. I'm used to, going to Padre and Dodger games. There's 5,000 people rooting for the other team, and it's 10,000 if it's the Mets or the Cubs. So I get some of that, but I got to say, and the stars are always going to draw, and the original 6 are going to draw. I get all that, but like Calgary showed up. I thought there were 3,000 or 4,000 people there rooting for the Flames. Is there anything you can do to make it more of a home ice advantage, or is that just life in the NHL?
Yeah, look, I think it's a few things. I think some of those fans live here in Utah and have been fans of hockey, and before we existed, cheered for other teams. So we got to win those fans over. Hockey fans travel really well. We see that across the league, and I think there was a fair bit of, and rightly so, a bit of curiosity to the novelty of the new team here and what we were doing, and all the excitement and buzz around the building and the things that we're doing here in Utah that brought some of that hockey travel tourism, if you will. So I think those things will all level out. And, one thing I will say is our home fans are the loudest in the NHL, and they show up. They showed up every game last year, regardless of how things were going in the season. As the course of the season went on, I felt like we learned how to use that energy of the building to our advantage, and excited to pick up where we left off.
How much do you think, Chris, the team can be improved just by the basics of familiarity, meaning everything was new last year, and now, obviously, for the newcomers, it would still be new, but you're going to have turnover every single year. But for the bulk of the organization, there's a sense of familiarity. I'm just wondering if you think that can at least maybe, even if it's just a little, help the success.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think Bill Armstrong has said this well in a couple of occasions, that we have a little bit more. Everybody's a little more settled this season. We have a little bit more stability and continuity to what we're doing because we've had the benefit of a proper and full off season to get ready for the year. So he also always says, and I love this, that you can't manufacture experience. Is something that has to be accrued through games and through coming of age. And we've got a lot of young players who look great in training camp, and we think we'll take another big step this year. But that all of this requires patience and to stick to our plan. We want to build a team that's competitive and has a long competitive window to challenge for the Stanley Cup multiple times. And so this season will be really about trying to accrue that next layer of experience, if you will, that makes us a better team and on our way to being a championship team one day.
I don't know if the word is adjustment or pivot, but I thought the best thing that happened in season from the business side of it all, and I thought you won over a lot of people with this, initially the corners of the upper bowl were closed for weeknight games. And there's a lot of complaining I heard about people who couldn't get into the building. And when you opened that up, I think you did a deal with Smith's, $10 tickets, and just acknowledged, hey, these are heavily obstructed views, but you're in the arena. I heard so much positive feedback about that. There were so many people who loved that. They knew what they were buying up front. They didn't care. They wanted to be in the building. They loved it. How are you handling that this year? What opportunities are out there for people?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something we'll look at again. That was a great concept by our president of commercial, Chris Barney, and his team, and really all about creating access to the building, right? Creating new hockey fans, giving people a textural experience with hockey and the energy of the building and learning the game and just the opportunity to be here and feel that atmosphere in the arena. Obviously, we have fewer of those seats year over year as we make changes to the building to give everybody a perfect view of the ice. But as long as we have those seats, we're going to continue to make the focus about creating as much access for people to experience the game of hockey.
If that was Barney's idea, I'd take it all back. The guy's a bum.
He's a good man. Very talented
PK,
man.
back me up in this. Barney's a bum. Am I right? I've always said that.
Chris Barney?
Make sure he hears that.
Yeah, tell him I said so,
like him.
too. Tell him I said so. That'll be awesome. All right. Hey, we actually know him because he started selling radio a long time ago. So we've watched him. We've watched him climb the ladder, and he's done a good job of that.
He's one of the best in the business. We're lucky to have him for sure.
Chris, we appreciate the time, and good luck with everything. And that could include maybe a shortened construction window next summer if all the hockey fans are lucky.
Absolutely, and we look forward to seeing you guys around the rink for
all
sure.
Right. Thanks,
Appreciate
Chris.
you having me on.
Yeah, Chris Armstrong, Utah Mammoth President of Hockey Operations. All right, now Yak wants to put an exclamation point on this segment. If you'd like to go see the Utah Mammoth, they're playing the San Jose Sharks Saturday night at the Delta Center. Call right now. Caller 12-801-575-ZONE. Caller 12-801-575-ZONE will win a pair of tickets to watch the Utah Mammoth take on the Sharks Saturday night at the Delta Center. It's the perfect night to go because that is a super quiet college football night. You won't be missing much there. DJ and PK, call right now. We're back with your feedback next.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
DJ PK, it's time for your feedback. And the question, if your team cannot win the Big 12, who are you rooting for? Blake, Texas Tech, we need a flag bearer in the Big 12, and Texas Tech has the most national attention right now. He's going to root for the big dog with all the money and risk that they don't turn into the 800-pound gorilla.
I'm nervous about that.
Yeah, with good reason. Now, you're not big on rooting for the conferences you talked earlier. What about the thought that you got to get credit for the teams you beat, so you need them to have credibility?
Yes, but that's teams, 100%. I'm talking about one big dog that everybody chases. I think you misunderstood here. Yes, I've been pumping the conference as recently as yesterday when we had Robbie Bosco on, and I said the conference is not getting the respect it deserves because it's got a lot of very good teams. And to get the national attention, you need a team that is 0 or 1 loss. But I don't want it to be the same team every year because I think that actually waters down the conference. Well, yeah, that team, sure, that program is really good, but it's just beating a bunch of average teams. No, I don't want a dominant team. I want several teams to have a shot at it, and I want the depth of the conference, as I said, as a batting order. If your number 7, 8 hitters are really good, then you've got a great team. That's what I'm talking about.
I wonder if you can have 7 or 8, or if then they beat each other up and nobody gets any credit. I wonder if you really do need the ACC model, 2 or 3. And, Clemson obviously isn't good this year. But if Miami and Florida State are, and now they get to play in prime time, and they'll get hyped up all day long, and it'll be a big game. And there's only 2 top 25 games this week. It's not a great schedule. It's not only slow locally with the 2 byes and the Friday night game, and it's conference weekend, and we all get that. But it's not like we're going to sit down and watch it. It's a big week nationally, and there's 6 top 25 matchups. There's 2. Vandy and Alabama, and Miami, Florida State.
I love the fact that, there's still other games I could be interested in. I don't need some voter to assign a number to determine my interest. Boise, Notre Dame, whatever. There'll be games I'm interested in. But I love the fact a team literally on the East Coast is going out to Berkeley with like a 10:30 start East Coast time.
Yeah.
That just screams how screwed up this thing is.
It does. All right, we got an open mic here. Yak, what do you have?
So this just came in, and this is pumping up PK a little bit. Here we go.
PK, you are on my pedestal. You are the man. I love almost every word that comes out of your mouth. The words that I don't love that come out of your mouth are the ones that I cannot hear. What you do is you take a deep breath, and then you use that air to process the words. Now, don't mistake my snarky tone for arrogance or complaining. I just love you so much that I want to hear every freaking word. All right, bro? So like this. So now I can talk forever. I can say a lot of things. I can say them a lot of fast. I can say them at pretty good volume, too. As a matter of fact, I can talk so fast it'll make your head spin around 3, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, touchdown, whatever you want to say. But when you run out of breath and you talk like this, then I don't really have anything to add to the conversation.
Wow, that was a lot of time and effort in that.
But you got to talk to God on that. If I run out of breath, that's not my fault.
Your lungs are your responsibility, PK. Own up.
I talk to God often, so I don't understand what's the big deal.
When we come back, Jake and Ben are taking over right here on The Zone.